Tonight you'll crawl into a soft bed, scroll your phone for way too long, get up once for water you didn't need, and fall asleep under a locked door with a working smoke alarm. Simple, almost boring. Now strip all of that away. No bed, no phone, no door, no walls. You're sitting on the ground wrapped in a hide, and something big is moving in the bushes 20 feet away. That was an ordinary Tuesday for your ancestors. And here's the question nobody really asks. What did they actually do when the sun went down? You spend a third of your entire life asleep. That's true for you, and it was true for every human who ever lived. But the way you do it, warm, safe, uninterrupted, in a sealed room with the lights under your control, is almost nothing like how it worked for most of human history. The real answer is stranger, older, and honestly more impressive than you'd expect. Go back far enough before fire was tamed, before tools were anything to brag about. Every single day, half of it was total darkness. Not streetlight through the curtains darkness. Not phone died, can't find the bathroom darkness. Complete, hand in front of your face and see nothing darkness. And in that darkness, things hunted. Lions, hyenas, leopards. Most of the major predators of the ancient world are crepuscular or nocturnal, meaning dawn, dusk, and full night were exactly when they were most active, which means the moment the sun dropped, your ancestors went from hunter to snack option, competing against animals with far better night vision than theirs. So what was the plan? Group up, get somewhere high, get somewhere enclosed, use the landscape as a weapon. Caves became premium real estate, not for the ambiance, but for one simple reason, one entrance. Put your back to the rock, and you always know exactly which direction danger is coming from. It's the first security system humans ever had, and it worked. Groups slept close together, sharing warmth, close enough to hear each other breathe. Someone was always a lighter sleeper. Someone always stirred. It wasn't cozy in any modern sense, but it was safety, distributed across an entire group instead of carried alone. Then, somewhere around 400,000 years ago, everything changed. Fire. Early humans gained reliable control of fire. The entire shape of the night shifted. Fire keeps you warm. It lets you cook food, which dramatically improves how much nutrition your body can actually pull from it. But more than either of those, fire draws a line, a circle of light between you and the dark, psychological as much as physical, and somehow just as effective as a wall. Most large predators won't cross into firelight, not because flame burns them from a distance, but because it's a disruption their nervous systems never evolved to handle. Sitting by a fire, you were safer, not through strength, but through light itself. Here's the part that rarely gets enough attention though. Fire didn't just protect early humans from predators. It changed what humans were. Think about what a fire actually lets you do. You can't farm by firelight. You can't build by firelight. What you can do is sit, face each other, and talk. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have found something remarkable about exactly that. Anthropologist Polly Wiessner spent years recording daytime and nighttime conversation among the hoansi people of the Kalahari Desert in southern Africa. Her research found daytime talk is overwhelmingly practical. Who's hunting where? What needs gathering? Logistics, the ancient version of a Monday status update. Nighttime conversation is almost entirely different. Long, elaborate, emotionally rich stories about ancestors, about the world's origins, about what it means to be brave or generous or worth trusting. Wiessner's data found storytelling made up roughly 80% of nighttime firelight conversation, compared to only about 6% during the day. Daytime was for logistics. Nighttime was for meaning. For tens of thousands of years, every single evening, humans sat around fires and narrated the world to each other. The campfire was the cinema. The storyteller was the screen. And this matters enormously, because stories are how culture transmits itself, without writing, without books, without any external storage at all. Firelight stories were, quite literally, the hard drive of early human civilization. Now about sleep, because this is where it gets genuinely strange, and it might change how you feel the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning. Most of us assume the correct, healthy way to sleep is 8 straight hours in one unbroken block. Wake up at 3 a.m. and lie there awake, and you assume something's wrong. Historian Roger Ekirch spent decades combing through diaries, court records, medical texts, and household accounts, and found something genuinely surprising. For most of human history, going back through medieval Europe and almost certainly much further, people didn't sleep in one block. They slept in two, called first sleep and second sleep. Bed a couple hours after dark, sleep 3 or 4 hours, wake calmly, stay up an hour or two, then drift back down until morning. This isn't a fringe theory. References to first and second sleep appear in Homer, in Roman writing, saturating medieval literature the way we'd casually mention breakfast. A 16th century French physician recommended couples conceive children specifically during that waking window, since people were naturally more relaxed then. Household records mention chores done between the two sleeps as completely ordinary. That old phrase, the watch in the night, found across historical texts and religious writing, often meant nothing more dramatic than ordinary people being routinely, unremarkably awake in the dark. And what did they do with that window? Nearly everything. They prayed, since many traditions treated the hours between midnight and dawn as spiritually significant, the quietest and most open time for reflection. They thought about their dreams, taken far more seriously as meaningful information than most people treat them today. They had sex. They tended the fire, adding fuel to keep it through the cold hours. Farmers checked livestock. Mothers nursed infants. Some people even visited neighbors, walking dark streets between the two sleeps like it was the most normal thing in the world, because it was. The pattern collapsed almost certainly because of artificial light. Once you can keep a room brightly lit deep into the evening, bedtime creeps later, total sleep time compresses, and the natural gap between first and second sleep gets swallowed into one longer block. Waking at 3 a.m. starts to feel wrong, instead of feeling like a rhythm your body has run for hundreds of thousands of years. So if you've ever surfaced at 3 a.m., strangely calm and clear-headed, lain there thinking for a while, then drifted peacefully back to sleep, that's not a malfunction. That's an old biological rhythm, doing exactly what it always did. Sleep itself, even the physical setup of it, was more engineered than you'd guess. Archaeologist Lynn Wadley has studied sleeping platforms at Border Cave in South Africa, dating back roughly 200,000 years, made from carefully layered grasses and selected plant material. Beneath those layers, her team found something telling. Ash, deliberately spread, not accidental debris from a nearby fire. Ash repels insects, ticks, mites, fleas, all the things that bite you while you sleep. Someone, 200,000 years ago, noticed the itching stopped near ash, tested the idea, confirmed it worked, and passed it on. That's pest control before the concept of pest control existed. That's the scientific method, running quietly in a prehistoric brain, aimed squarely at getting a better night's sleep. In colder climates, the challenge shifted from insects to cold itself. During Ice Age winters in Europe and Central Asia, temperatures could kill an unprotected body within hours, so groups slept pressed together, sharing warmth in what was essentially a living insulation system, thermal physics running on human bodies instead of blankets. And within those groups, some individuals were naturally lighter sleepers, quicker to rouse. That variation may not have been random. A group where everyone slept equally deep was a group more likely to be caught off guard. A group with a spread of sleep depths had in effect rotating sentries without anyone having to suffer through deliberate, miserable night watch. Beyond survival, the night carried enormous spiritual weight across nearly every ancient culture, for a reason that makes intuitive sense. The sun, the very thing that made the world visible and warm, disappeared every evening. In many cosmologies, it descended into an underworld and had to fight its way back. Every sunrise was a small victory. Maya cities like Chichen Itza were built with precise astronomical alignment, tracking Venus, visible only at dawn and dusk, a planet tied closely to decisions about war. Priests conducted rituals deep in the night to help ensure the sun's return. From a modern lens that reads as mythology, from theirs, it was infrastructure maintenance, and the sun, reliably, kept its end of the arrangement. In ancient Mesopotamia, specialized priest scholars tracked the night sky for omens, treating comets, eclipses, and planetary movement as messages worth acting on for war, planting, and treaties. The method was wrong by modern standards, but the underlying instinct, look for patterns, act on what you find, was genuine science in an early form. Polynesian navigators achieved something almost hard to believe, crossing thousands of miles of open Pacific Ocean in wooden outrigger canoes, with no compass, no instruments, mostly at night, guided by memorized star positions that shifted by season and latitude, by reading ocean swells with their bodies, by tracking birds that fly toward land at dusk. They turned the entire night sky into a working navigation system, arguably more sophisticated in its own domain than anything humans carried before satellites. Even specific crafts leaned on darkness deliberately. Iron Age metalworkers in what is now Zimbabwe chose to fire their forges at night because daylight washes out the subtle color shifts, red through orange through white, that tell a smith exactly how hot the metal has become. Darkness, used as a precision instrument. Put all of this together, and the picture flips completely. The instinct is to imagine ancient nights as something small and frightened, humans huddled and waiting for morning, night as an empty gap between days. That's backward. Night was when stories became culture, when people woke naturally in the dark to think, to pray, to connect, when bodies pressed together against cold that would otherwise kill, when priests read the sky for meaning, and navigators crossed oceans by starlight, and smiths used shadow to see more clearly than daylight ever let them. Humans traded almost all of that away for electric light, and that trade was, on balance, absolutely worth it. But something real got lost in how completely day and night collapsed into one continuous, identical stretch of time. The fire-lit circle, the 80% of nighttime spent in story, the strange clear-headed hour between first and second sleep, the sky read as calendar, map, and scripture all at once. So the next time you wake at 3 a.m., alert for no obvious reason, thoughts moving clearly through your head, don't reach for your phone, and don't spiral into a search bar. Just lie there in the dark for a while. You're not malfunctioning. You're remembering something your body was never actually supposed to forget.